France with the army of occupation. Now, not only his grandmother but several of his relations were begging him almost on their knees to take a wife. He had looked at the debutantes and thought that he had discovered a perfect pearl amongst them. Lady Charlotte Warde was the only daughter of the Earl of Langward, and was most undoubtedly the greatest beauty of the younger generation. She had been a top debutante the previous year, and Lady Charlotte had received, the Marquis was told, dozens of proposals of marriage. Almost every eligible bachelor had laid his heart at her feet, and she had refused them all. It meant, the Marquis had supposed, that she was waiting to fall in love. He had first met Lady Charlotte at a ball. When he had danced with her, he thought that her great beauty was even more outstanding than it had been described to him. She had almost classic features. Her skin was as white as marble and soft as a rose petal. She was very sure of herself, and therefore amusing and fun, and she was not too shy, occasionally to utter a double entendre or a provocative reply to a question. By the third time the Marquis met her, there was no doubt in his mind that she would grace the end of the table at Darincourt Hall, and would also undoubtedly be the most beautiful peeress at the opening of Parliament. He danced with her at several other balls, then daringly sat out in the garden at Devonshire House under the trees ornamented with magic lanterns. When the Marquis kissed Lady Charlotte, she did not resist him, and then he found that the eagerness of her lips aroused him. "What am I waiting for?" he had asked himself that night when he returned to bed. The following day, his grandmother had once again beseeched him to remember that there must be an heir to the Marquisate of Darincourt. The Marquis then told himself that she was right, and he was unlikely to find anyone more beautiful than Lady Charlotte. He was certain that when she was a little older, she would be an amiable and successful hostess, and that was important for the parties that he intended to give both in the country and in London. Having made up his mind, he sent a note to Lady Charlotte. He told her that he would call on her the following Wednesday at 3 o'clock. He thought that would give him time to have an early luncheon in London, and then he would drive to the Earl's country house at the time he had mentioned. He thought, to save time and all the uncomfortable discussions, he would buy an engagement ring and take it with him. He chose one ring he felt particularly attractive. It consisted of one large cabochon pearl, which the jeweller told him was one of the most perfect examples he had ever seen, and it was encircled by diamonds. The Marquis thought that he would explain to Lady Charlotte why he had decided to give her a pearl rather than a traditional diamond solitaire. She would understand the compliment that he was paying her. The ring was now securely in his waistcoat pocket, and thinking of her made him drive a little faster. He was planning, as he travelled along, how soon the marriage would take place, and where he would take his bride for their honeymoon. He had been abroad far too long, and so it would be much more pleasant, he thought, to stay somewhere quiet and romantic in England. Although Lady Charlotte was 19, the Marquis felt sure that she was innocent and pure. She would know very little about love, and it would be exciting to teach her about it. There was one thing that he was completely assured about. It was that he would be welcomed wholeheartedly by the Earl of Langward. He was well known to be such a tremendous snob that he was laughed at behind his back. It was therefore equally well known why all Lady Charlotte's suitors had been sent away abruptly with a flea in their ear. They were not in the least important enough to be the Earl's son-in-law. No one, the Marquis knew only too well, could say that about him. He was quite certain that the Earl would insist on an extremely grand wedding. The Prince Regent would be present, and at least half the peerage. It was not a long way to drive to the Earl's house. Large and very imposing, it had been rebuilt in the reign of Queen Anne, and it stood in 1,000